WBC belt that has included Ali, the greatest of all time. They are set and ready to answer who's the greatest of right now. Wilder, Fury 2, here we go.
Okay, we'll start with this. Well, there was a lot of action this past weekend, and a lot of it took some time to get to, and...
Real busy.
You know, I finally had the chance to sit down and get a look at what happened in the women's bantamweight division that the now former WBC champion Barbie Juarez was crying foul. It appears that a potential glovegate situation ensued last Saturday when Barbie Juarez lost her WBC bantamweight title to Julihan Luna, otherwise known as La Cobrita, the newly crowned WBC bantamweight champion. It appears that Barbie Juarez felt that there was something else going on here, that perhaps La Cobrita had loaded her gloves, that perhaps there was some foreign object inside of the padding, as, according to Barbie, in 21 years of boxing, she'd never felt a punch like that. It was at the end of round 7, after several punishing rounds, when Barbie went to her corner, that she first vocalized she suspected there was something in La Cobrita's gloves and insisted that those gloves be checked. But I've got to tell you, having seen the fight, its aesthetic and what took place, I don't think there was anything off about La Cobrita's gloves. Put simply, I think there was something off in Barbie and her performance. A fighter her age, what is she, 40 years old?
All the time is catching up.
That might be hard for Barbie to believe with all her years of experience, but I think that if the fight looked the way that it looked, it was a combination of things, a combination of Julihan Luna's speed, size, skill, and a bit of decline from Barbie Juarez. That's right. And perhaps Barbie's pride won't let her see it that way, but that's what I saw in watching this thing, that if it looked the way that it looked, it had a lot to do with La Cobrita's implementation, who wasn't winning this fight by way of volume, mowing the other girl down, applying pressure. No, it was clean boxing and clean counters.
That seems to be what did it.
From the opening bell, Barbie Juarez got this fight off to a bad start. She had a monster uppercut in the first round. Julihan Luna drew blood early, and it was all downhill for Barbie from there.
Got her face all busted up.
Barbie Juarez struggled to find her range in this fight, struggled to get within striking distance of Julihan Luna, who, I reiterate, fired off some good counter shots that kept Barbie Juarez outside of her sweet spot, kept her out of the pocket, outside of striking distance, and scrambling to figure out Julihan Luna. We saw Barbie try to jab her way in at a slight crouch, at a slight angle, but came up short every single time. We saw Barbie switch stances from orthodox to southpaw.
That didn't work either.
Barbie Juarez just couldn't gain safe entry to get anything done against Julihan Luna because of Julihan Luna's size, speed, skill, and counterpunching, which all came together for her this past Saturday night. And I think that some emphasis, some focus should go into Julihan Luna's counterpunching, because counterpunching, countershots are shots that the other girl doesn't see, thus doesn't brace themselves for. That actually amplifies the damage they cause. And that might help to explain why Barbie Juarez reacted the way she reacted to Julihan Luna's punch. Because Barbie was adamant that in 21 years of boxing, she never felt shots like that before. Maybe it's because a lot of those shots were counter shots, and maybe, just maybe, it's because you're in decline. Barbie might not be ready to hear that, but that is what I suspect happened here. You know, she got her face all busted up by an uppercut in the first round, was on Queer Street after absorbing a hard shot in the fourth round, was reduced to a bloody grimace by the 6th and 7th rounds.
In spite of putting on a brave face.
Perhaps Barbie Juarez had taken on one young contender too many. It's not the first time that Bobby Juarez took on a fighter that was 14 years younger than she is. She did that with Benita Fernandez, but you'll excuse me for saying so that La Cobrita, Yulihang Luna, is a much more polished boxer than Benita Fernandez is, and that's why this time things didn't go Barbie's way. I want to say that this was a prediction I got wrong. I didn't imagine that Bobby Juarez was going to get beat the way she got beat when I first caught wind of this fight. I thought that Bobby had enough left in the tank to win a decision, and I can admit that I was wrong. I don't suspect foul play here, given how the situation was handled. Bobby Juarez wasted no time vocalizing her concerns, unlike Deontay Wilder, who waited 7 fucking months to say anything about Tyson Fury's gloves, how his punch felt against his face. Bobby Juarez didn't waste any time voicing her concerns, voicing her conspiracy theory, and Yulihang Luna wasted no time shooting that conspiracy theory down. She handled the situation like a professional. Anybody who watched this fight watched Bobby Juarez interrupt Yulihang Luna's post-fight interview to voice her concerns, voice her suspicions.
And she did.
Yulihang Luna told her, her gloves, her wraps, they're right there, and if she wants to examine them, she's free to do so. And if she wants a rematch, they're open to that too. Bobby Juarez, post-fight, stated that she's requested that her promoter pursue a rematch. So we'll see if there is a sequel. But as far as the controversy at the Grand Oasis in Cancun, there is no controversy.
Bobby got beat fair and square.
By the bigger, younger, stronger, sharper fighter. That's all there is to it. I don't suspect foul play. There's nothing suspicious about the damage that Bobby Juarez sustained at the hands of Yulihang Luna, because Yulihang was landing clean shots, clean counter shots. And because they're counter shots, the damage is thereby amplified. If we're being honest, for a 40-year-old fighter...
What do you expect?
I know that it might have come as a shock to Barbie, who, before Saturday, was on an 11-fight winning streak. But Bobby's 40 years old. Father Time is bound to catch up at some point. And Bobby hadn't seen any action. She hadn't had a fight since October of last year against Carolina Duer. Whereas Yulihang actually managed to get a fight in this year during COVID times, just last month in September. She had a little keep busy fight against Kathia Rodriguez to keep the tools sharp, and that's what she was this past Saturday. She was sharp, sharper than the 40-year-old Barbie Juarez, who's 14 years older than Yulihang.
That's what it was.
And was 1 year less active. Ultimately, I don't suspect controversy here. Put simply, I think Bobby got beat fair and square, and she didn't know how to handle it.
Naturally, like, the truth will always reveal itself, innit? And I get a lot of stick in this sport, man. I do. But I take it with a pinch of salt. And he just admitted it, that, look, we offered him a lucrative offer, but he wanted to face Tyson Fury. And so be it. If that's what he wants to do, that's fine. But he dragged my name through the mud with him as well. While Wilder was doing what he's doing, trying to make me look like I was a bad person, I didn't want to enhance the sport or add to it or fight certain fighters. I just had to roll with the punches, innit? And he's actually come out and said it himself that, look, we offered him a really good deal, but he wanted to fight Tyson Fury, so people can take it how they want and see what the truth is now.
That's right. I mean, you guys didn't think we were done with this, did you? You guys didn't think we were done reacting to Wilder finally coming out of hiding, showing his face and saying what he's got to say. The boxing world certainly isn't done reacting to it. Per a tweet from Michael Benson, Teofimo Lopez on Deontay Wilder, I think Wilder has had too much time on his hands. He needs to focus on his own damn self. Go back in the gym. Get ready for a fight. Stop talking about a dent in your head. You're a grown-ass man. Stop being a bitch. Up-and-coming UK heavyweight from Ipswich, Fabio Wardley, said that everybody looks at him being Deontay Wilder, everybody looks at him like he's an idiot. Bob Arum described Wilder's recent accusations as being despicable. Dillian White, who's never been at a loss for words when it comes to Wilder, he says he doubts that Wilder will fight again. He's a coward and a disgrace. We've talked about Wilder's recent allegations, the last couple of videos from a legal standpoint. What the legal ramifications could be if Deontay Wilder continues down this path. And this resurgence of Wilder could mean several things, but I think at minimum, what it heralds is his return. I don't think that Deontay Wilder is ready to call it a career just yet, and I think at minimum, that's what him coming out of hiding indicates, regardless of what he's saying or how stupid it is, how stupid it all sounds.
He's coming back.
If anything, the third Tyson Fury fight not happening may have extended Wilder's career even further.
Deliberate or otherwise.
Regardless of what you want to believe, regardless of how you think it all happened, that maybe Wilder's team deliberately let the contract expire because they didn't actually want the third fight. Or maybe it's just the contract expired as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic pushing everything back. Thus, Tyson Fury bailed on Wilder, and now Team Wilder isn't happy about it. Regardless of what you think happened.
Whatever it is.
And how it happened. Not fighting Tyson Fury for a third time might have been the best thing for Deontay Wilder and his career. That might have been just what the doctor ordered, because what condition would his career have been in had he had that third fight with Tyson Fury and lost the third fight in worse fashion than he just lost the second fight earlier this year? If anything, I think that the third Tyson Fury fight not happening has extended Wilder's shelf life a little longer. And that's what him coming out of hiding indicates. That is what that heralds. Deontay Wilder's return to action, his return to the ring, which I've no doubts could take place at some point in 2021. And there are some guys on his side of the street that they could throw him in there with. Charles Martin, Adam Kovnowski, rather the winner of Kovnowski versus Helenius 2, if that rematch takes place. They could be building towards an Andy Ruiz fight towards the end of the year. We know that Andy's supposed to be returning to action at some point next year. I mean, Wilder hasn't called it a career yet, right? He hasn't announced his retirement from the sport of boxing, and until he does, it's conceivable that he could return at some point next year against, one of those PBC guys, one of his stablemates. I mean, the Tyson Fury trilogy is off, and he's not going to get an Anthony Joshua fight, provided that both of those guys make it through their next fights, their next outings. Those two guys are set to lock horns with each other 2 times next year. So Wilder's not going to get either of those two guys, and right now I'm not even convinced he wants them. Not yet, anyways. This guy's on the comeback trail. He's got to have a rebound fight first before he can set foot in the ring with either of those two guys. The mental state of Deontay Wilder has become a hot topic. Some people view him as a broken man. Others look at this entire fiasco as a clever ruse.
A strategy.
Devised to allow Deontay Wilder to not have this third Tyson Fury fight, but still save face in the process, to keep him marketable and keep him talked about. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Deontay Wilder being a broken man, and all of this being a master plan, what we've been seeing, what we're looking at, those two things aren't mutually exclusive. What we're looking at could very well be a bit of both. But at minimum, I reiterate, I think that if this guy has decided to come out of hiding, it's because he plans to fight again. I think that this guy is on the comeback trail.
Naturally, the truth will always reveal itself, innit? And I get a lot of stick in this sport, man. I do. But I take it with a pinch of salt. And he just admitted it, that, look, we offered him a lucrative offer, but he wanted to face Tyson Fury. And so be it. If that's what he wants to do, that's fine. But he dragged my name through the mud with him as well. While Wilder was doing what he's doing, trying to make me look like I was a bad person, I didn't want to enhance the sport or add to it or fight certain fighters. I just had to roll with the punches, innit? And he's actually come out and said it himself that, look, we offered him a really good deal, but he wanted to fight Tyson Fury, so people can take it how they want and see what the truth is now.
I do think that Deontay Wilder is on the comeback trail, I do. But I also think that due to his shenanigans, not just the recent ones, not just the Glovegate and Mark Breland stuff, the way that he tried to drag Anthony Joshua's name through the mud, tried to convince the boxing community that the AJ people didn't want the fight when he just let the cat out of the proverbial bag. He just let the boxing community know, the boxing world, that the AJ people offered him more money than was on the table for him to fight Tyson Fury. You're gonna have a hell of a hard time making people forget or overlook that.
You can't use that angle anymore.
Now that small faction of fight fans, that cult following that Deontay Wilder has, that can really only be found via social media, those individuals. Deontay Wilder can do no wrong in their eyes, and I've no doubts that they won't change their stance on this fighter. No matter how many stupid things he says, no matter how many stupid things he does, no matter how many times he contradicts himself, they're going to stand by him. The problem is that there aren't enough of these individuals overall to get Wilder back into contention by way of popular demand, as he has become quite unpopular given his recent antics. So Wilder's going to need something dramatic. He's going to need to do something that would make the fight fans either forget or overlook everything that has happened. And the only thing that I can think of that qualifies would be knocking out Andy Ruiz. That's right. Andy Ruiz, who, much like Deontay Wilder, is on the comeback trail. He's on the rebound. Andy hasn't had a fight since he got that boxing lesson from Anthony Joshua in their second fight, their sequel, their rematch.
He hasn't.
Both Andy and Wilder are in a rebuilding process to get back into world title contention, and their best bet of doing that is going through each other, particularly to Wilder. To get back into that kind of conversation, he's got to give the fight fans, he's got to give the boxing community something spectacular. If he can do to Andy what he did to Bermane Stiverne in their rematch, if he can do to Andy what he did to Dominic Breazeale, if he can do to Andy what he did to Luis Ortiz 2 times, if he can do to Andy what Anthony Joshua could not, if he can knock him out, I think that might help. I think that might do it, because fight fans, generally speaking, have short attention spans and even shorter memories. This is the what have you done for me lately sport, after all. And while knocking out Andy ain't gonna rewrite history, what it might do is create enough excitement that Wilder gets back into world title contention, because here and now, he ain't there.
And he's got a lot of work to do.
The same applies to Andy, who hurt his own public persona by saying that he didn't bother to train for the second fight, for the rematch with Anthony Joshua. He has since paired up with Eddie Reynoso, who trains Canelo Alvarez, who trains Ryan Garcia, who trains Oscar Valdez. We've yet to see the fruits of Andy's labor since entering into that partnership. I vaguely recall Andy expressing a desire to fight Anthony Joshua for a third time in what would be a rubber match, a tiebreaker of sorts. And I'm here to tell you, knocking off Chris Arreola ain't gonna do it. That's who Andy's supposed to be fighting next in what is so obviously a tick-over fight, a rebound fight.
Right.
If you want to get back in contention to fight that guy again,
To fight AJ.
going through Wilder might do it. Because neither one of you deserves a title shot right now. And the guys that do have the titles, they got better things to do than do the dance with you. So, in the mean in between time, why not fight each other?